Oh, look, you know, I was 19 years old. I don't think at 19 years old you have many expectations at all. It's an adventure and you just go.
It was 1972 in Los Angeles, and John Malloy was 19 years old. The opportunity arose to board a Norwegian freighter, the Thor's Isle, bound for the Pacific Islands and then on to Australia. With no expectations, he jumped aboard the ship, ready to drift into the unknown and see where life would take him. Thousands of kilometres and several island hops throughout the Pacific later, John found himself on the east coast of Australia. Chasing the dream of surfing the waves he had earlier seen in a surf mag, John set off hitchhiking across the country, destined for Yallingup, Western Australia. 9,400 miles travelled with little more than a backpack, a photograph and a surfboard. As soon as John laid eyes on Yallingup, he knew he was home. This is a story about the evolution of the modern day leash, the birth of a global surf hardware brand, and how John Malloy, an ordinary surfer who found what he loved, turned his passion into a business and gave it a go.
Seen photos of Margaret River. We were pretty keen surfers at the time and it looked like a perfect wave and decided to come. Our crew that we grew up with, there was 6 of us that made the journey, all on the Norwegian freighter, the Thor's Isle. It's just an adventure. You're a kid, you know, you could buy, you know, you couldn't drink in America. You get on board a ship and they all want to bloody drink piss and smoke cigarettes, and it seemed like a good idea. But all the crew were, you know, Tongans or Fijians or Samoans, and they're just naturally beautiful people, and they just because we were so young and so probably dumb, they just took us under their wing and looked after us and showed us around. We just hire scooters wherever we were, and we'd grab our boards and just drive around the islands until we found some waves and have a surf. When we got to Sydney, we didn't stick around. We got to the Hume Highway in the middle of the night. We just started hitchhiking. We had our surfboard in a backpack, and it took us a couple days to actually get to WA. We were hitchhiking, you know, anybody pick us up, you know, young crew and truck drivers and whoever, you know. The journey over was a great learning experience and just a great adventure.
Yeah, John, along with Tom Hoy and a couple of other Americans, turned up here in, I think, either late 71 or 72. And they're pretty mellow guys for Americans.
Somebody picked us up somewhere and they took us straight to the farmhouse. And it was a day like today, bright blue skies, warm. Just thought, this is it, this is paradise. It was fantastic.
And they sort of hung around, you know, and just take them surfing with us and show them some of our bots that we'd never showed anyone.
I lived over here in this shack, and I think my rent was $5 a week, and this was my house in here. Wooden floors, kitchen, bedroom. 30 or 40 years ago it was pretty nice. My first surf was at Super Tubes, and it was a good day at Super Tubes. It's such a perfect wave. It's hollow, it's quick, it was fun.
What I liked about it was uncrowded and untouched. You know, there was new spots to be found and, you know, adventures to be had.
We went a little bit further to Margaret River. Oh, Jesus, a little bit different. Then after that, you know, 10 or 12 years later, Bears was opened up. the other side of the Cape on a howling days like this, or Margaret River on a good day. So you've got everything in between. It's the best training ground in the world for kids.
Nobody was there. I mean, it was just us. I can't remember how many of us were there, but it would have been our crew, so it might have been 6 at the most. Caves House was our local. It's a huge part of Yallingup, and it's a place where all the community met in the early days. A lot of tradies, a lot of surfers used to wash dishes out the back, used to pick up glasses in the beer garden. I mean, we all worked around town doing something. I think our bond was surf though. If you wanted to live down here, you were either going to do farm work, wash dishes, work at the pub, or start your own gig. And that's, I think that was the motivation for doing it. In 1974, there was a friend of ours, Ricky Jordan. He was making leg ropes down south, and Ricky was going back to South Africa. And I asked him, I said, Ricky, can I take over making leg ropes when you go? And he said, sure. So it was around 1974 that I started making leg ropes down south. That was the start of the journey. Around 1975, Helen and David Hattrick, some friends, came back from Sydney, and they were looking for something to do. So we decided to form a partnership making leg ropes. David came up with the name Pipeline, so we called them Pipeline's Leg Ropes. It was a really good name. David Hattrick was a very good marketer. You know, you got to give him credit for what he did at the time. And his advertising was good, his marketing was good. The fact that he got out and about and made himself known in the surfing industry and gave the product to the right people was all important.
When we got leg ropes, we started being a little bit more game. We used to go surfing a lot further out to sea.
You had the best leg rope in the world, but you still had to go to Bill Oddie at Cordingley Surfboards and go, come on, Bill, just put some leg ropes next to the surfboards, you know? Because a lot of people didn't like the leg ropes. There was a lot of backlash to the leg rope. You know, there was still the people that wanted to do it naturally without a leg rope, and it was creating more crowds in the water, and there's people should learn to swim attitude. And
I mean, it was shocking when down here, if it'd be blowing strong east-southeast and you lose your board, you just go out to sea. You start swimming. I've seen guys nearly drown swimming out to sea chasing the board.
I think in the beginning, we just thought it was going to work. You know, we weren't thinking about testing or anything like that. And I remember Barry Young at the time, you know, we might have given Barry Young 100 leg ropes to sell for us in Perth. I remember Barry just going, look, they've all broken. There were leg ropes made for California. They weren't made for going out here at Car Park or Margaret River or any place. So we had to really sit down and go, shit, you know, what's going to work around here? And we found the bell cord in the service stations at the time that you run over and the bell goes off. And we thought that'll probably work. It was primitive, but you know, you could go out to Margie's or you could go anywhere and go surfing with it and it wouldn't break.
He used to give me a leg rope. He said, go break this one. And they're hard to break.
So the guy who was selling us the bell cord. He had his briefcase open, and we saw this, I think it was orange urethane cord. Pulled it out and went, you know, what's this stuff? And the urethane cord was used for washing machine and dryer repairmen who would go in and replace a fan belt. And we thought, gee, could really work for Allegro. So we bought, you know, quite a few meters of it. There used to be a tractor over here, and we tied it onto the tractor and we drove off. And it was just this instant light bulb moment where you went, geez, you know, this could really work. So that's it. That's how it all started, just trying something and looking, keeping your eyes open for new stuff. And it didn't take long. You know, Brian Cregan at Ocean and Earth started, John and the boys at Barlin started. They've been good, solid Australian competitors to us forever. You know, not only in the early days of pipelines, but throughout Creatures. You know, they're still there, you know. And there's a lot of merit to that as well. Just do your own thing and make it happen. Have a go, you know. It's you'd be quite surprised what people are capable of. After a few years, our partnership broke up with Helen and David taking over pipelines, and I went up north to pay off some extravagant bills that we had managed to rack up. Basically, I did 8 years up there, and whether or not I was on the railway line or on the roofs of houses or building houses, it was a great experience for me.
He was inland on the Tom Price railway line, cutting up steel railway lines in about 40-degree plus heat. And I said to John, do you want to come out and do some roofing? And he said, yeah. John kept going with the business for the next year or two till he got enough money to start Creatures.
We had a poster of Mental as Anything album in our house, and it was called Creatures of Pleasure. That was the name of the album, and we thought, oh, that'll do. We actually ended up checking with the band. They said no worries, and as I remember, we sent them some product.
We were a smaller company, obviously, a smaller team, and it was really hands-on. We had to do everything ourselves. We didn't have a team to design product or a creative team or a finance team even. It was us and a phone.
There was no fax machines. There was no computers. There was no nothing. This is only 30 years ago.
It'd be so much easier to make it all in Perth, you know, with the shipping and everything like that. But, you know, John stayed true to the roots, and this is where he wanted to live, and this is where he wanted to build a company.
So while it's been difficult to run a business from Western Australia, the middle of nowhere, compared to the rest of the world, just being able to sort of set about and do our own thing's also been an advantage. And the thing is, we love living here. It's a great place to be. So,
for the first 5 years, we lost money, big time. I started going to Taiwan, to China. We were still manufacturing everything in Dunsborough, and then it turned.
John was such a hands-on on all that process of getting all the different things and what he thought was the right stuff to use, and then had us on the ground at home to test it all in the best ways to make sure, you know, Creatures became like the quality brand.
That was the thing that I never had to second guess. I knew my leash was going to work, I knew my tail pad was going to stay on, and I knew my board bags were going to get my boards safely to whatever destination I had to go to.
I remember my first day at work, he calls me into his office and gave me the old, no, we don't fuck around here, this is serious, you know. So it was like a bit of an eye-opener. I thought it was like a bit of a mellow kind of job, but he made sure that, you know, the ground rules were laid early, and he's that kind of guy, like, you know, I think he just wanted to scare the shit out of me to make sure I was rocking up for work on time.
I remember John handed me, when I first started the job, he handed me the team responsibility, and seriously on the back of a beer coaster was the list of the team. And I said, so what's the agreement with these guys? You know, what's the expectation? He says, oh no, we just give them product.
We had Taj Burrow and Jake Pato. Luke Egan had his grip early days. Shane Powell had a grip in the early days. And then we went from there. and expanded our team based on signature model grips.
Joel Parkinson, Rob Machado, Luke Egan. It's kind of it's a hall of fame that's been through the business. Mick came on at the age of 15, I think.
I think one year at Creatures, the Margaret Savannah came and we were having a barbecue, brought him along, and I think that was where it all got really involved with Mick and stuff, and he's obviously been the #1 team rider for the last 20 or so years. And
Jake and Paul Pato bringing him into the factory and just saying this guy absolutely rips. I don't even think there was any money transactions or any, you didn't really worry about any of that kind of stuff. And Mick signed up, and he's been with Creatures ever since. I don't even know how many years that is.
I think it was 97, I think. I was in Perth for the Australian junior titles, and super straight up guy, really easy to get along with. Just said how it was, and it wasn't any bullshit really. It was good.
And what you have to admire with Mick is what he's gone through in his life, and the loyalty that he shows to all the brands that he is sponsored by. He gets it, he understands it.
I coach a bunch of athletes now, and I always say Mick Fanning's the guy that you want to aspire to, the constant professional and how he treats the sponsors and stuff. And kids these days, they kind of don't get reality of how stuff just is handed to them hand over fist, and they don't appreciate it as much. And Mick's totally the opposite, appreciates every little leg rope to grip he gets, kind of thing.
A business is not always kicking a goal, and he doesn't try and take advantage or do anything. He just wants to remain loyal to the sponsors he's had, and he has done that for a long period of time for all his sponsors.
To hold on to Mick Fanning after what he's done is incredible. They got Steph Gilmore, 7 times world champion, Mick 3 times world champion. They got these crazy new up and coming kids, Griffin Colapinto, Ethan Ewing, Jack Freestone, and they've got the current world champion, Tello from Brazil. So it's an incredible team.
take a product and break it down into its parts and figure out what's wrong with those parts, or how can we make this whole product better by analysing each individual part. And I think that's what we were capable of doing.
When we created our DNA leash, and our leashes went from, we were getting a few back broken, and we developed a moulding mechanism for that leash, and our leash returns stopped, our leash breakages stopped overnight.
I think John really prided himself on making sure it was the best of the best.
When he believed in something, he just went at it.
Every leg rope broke at the same place, regardless of whether or not it was ours or our competitors. There was a spot on the leg rope where the mold ended and the cord started, and they always broke there. A leg rope is only as good as the sum of its raw materials. You have a urethane cord, and the urethane cord will stretch to 5 times its distance before it loses its integrity. So what you're trying to do is achieve a leg rope that stretches to the integrity of the molecules in the urethane before it breaks. And before, leg ropes were breaking not because the urethane molecules of the cord were failing, but because the actual molding was failing. So we fixed that problem.
Everything he does is, if it's not right, he'll get it right. And he's got integrity in business, John, like no one I've ever known. He wouldn't sell anyone something that didn't work or wasn't good.
Every leash leg rope around the world used brass torpedo swivels. It was just a fishing swivel at the time. They seized up and they corroded. We came up with a bearing swivel, which was stainless steel surrounded by acetyl plastic. It didn't seize, it didn't corrode. I think it's probably used on every leg rope around the world at the moment.
I mean, we're always trying to find things that we can improve. Can we make a leash better? Can we make a bag better? There's always something we can do better. In a lot of ways, the spirit of John's still in the building, and that striving to do better.
And I used to sit in the office and I'd go, who's going to take this over, And then it happens and you go, shit, they didn't need me anyway. It's such a good feeling to look at it now and be proud of what everybody is doing down there.
To get the right people for the right job, it's pretty unique to have a small country town, as I said, to build the company even bigger than what it is. It's pretty cool that the local people run it now.
And we've got some really inspirational, talented young people in this business, and it's a pleasure to come here every day and interact with that.
And whether or not we were making $1 million, it really didn't matter. You're doing what you want to do. You're living in a beautiful place. You can raise your family and you can go surfing. It has a lot more value than money aspect of the business. I mean, from my point of view, and I'm sure most of the people in the business's point of view.